daddy wasn't ever there for me.
No.
Well, I can't say that, but I always wanted his attention. You know, he had other kids. You know, I know. You know, and he wasn't there, and I always used to want him. And like even growing up, he really wasn't there. You know, I call him every now and then. Even when I was young, the kids used to say, "No, he ain't here," or his wife say, "No, he ain't here. He in the background, and he there." I said, "Man, damn, I'm young, Pastor." But as I got older, I learned to forgive that part of it. You follow what I'm saying, Pastor? I don't understand it, Q.
You had to fight that.
But I can tell you, I can help you.
Yeah.
I can help you with that.
Help me with that, Pastor. Slap me, man.
No. You ain't gonna stay mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ain't gonna stay mad.
I ain't tell you that.
Yeah. No,
I'm glad to tell you that.
That's a fact.
You can't stay mad. People do you wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm tell you that. God wired you that way.
Yep.
You mad because you can't stay mad.
Yep.
That's why you got to take that emotion in school, because you go through life trying to get mad. Now, if you practice long enough, you can emulate those emotions.
Pastor, you know how much you write. My buddy.
Yeah.
I had my mentor. He was with me one day. Then this guy came by. I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" We was talking, and my mentor was looking at the dude crazy, like. And I said, "Hey," when he left, I asked my mentor, I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Man, you remember what that nigga did to you 6 or 7 years ago?
Yeah.
And you talking to him like that, and it didn't bother me like it bothered him. You finally passed, and he was, and that could just happen yesterday.
I got folks around me that get mad because you ain't mad. And really, man, this is so, I became at a peace with this when I was about 12, 13. I had some sisters, and they're wired, they strong, you know. And I sit down, I was crying to my mama. I said, "Mama, I can't stay mad." You know, we may fall out for a minute. And after that, I'm ready to hug and make up.
Right.
Some people stay mad at you forever.
Right.
You know, and I was wishing like I could stay mad. My mom said, "You don't want that." See, because you can begin to take on the sins of another. Like, I ain't wired that way. When I understood that, and it was just recently.
Right.
You know, people, I don't care. I do care. I'm going to ride off and miss you.
Right.
That's why I look at it. So once you start, but I ain't no punk, though.
Right.
See, what happened is, we've been taught in society that this is the right way. Somebody do you wrong, but that ain't the right way. Because your daddy still got some stuff for you. And I'm going to tell you, man, you know, when I look at it, too, is that I ain't never, even my son, we had a good weekend. This weekend I was talking to him. I said, man, I told him, I have told him before, I messed up on that one, son. Not like I was nonchalant, but forgive me for that, because I thought I got an A on that report, what I did with him about 10 years ago.
Right.
But when I went back and looked at it, man, it was a D minus.
Right.
Might have been an F.
Right.
So because I thought I was doing the right thing.
That's a good look.
So God gives you grace. He said, one thing about mercy, you sow mercy, you get mercy. So when Q said that, he's getting mercy. We're getting mercy. When you, I promise you this, man, when you sow mercy, right, you're going to get it. So what the enemy wants us to do, man, I want to be like this, I want to be like that. So when Q gets some of me and I get some of him, because there are times when you say, man, I miss that guy, but he can't come around. I miss that person, but I can't have that type of relationship. Why? It's damage to me. It's damage to the people. So what we do, I got to send my emotions to all the schools. It really should be about 4 or 5 schools that he go to. He go to the school because how I'm wired, I don't understand how your guy get mad, but he got to understand how God wired you. And some people you shouldn't be around. Some people shouldn't be able to come around, right? Because it causes danger. You remember that little robot used to be on Lost in Space? Danger, danger, danger. If some people come around you, it's dangerous.
Right.
So what has to happen? What has to happen is when Q submits, right, submitting, you know, not surrendering, because surrendering is a military term.
Right.
You know, we're not at war. Submitting means that, you know what, there is a better way. There may be a better way. Or this ain't working.
Right.
If it's working for you, it's hard to get somebody to change and look at something when it's working for them. But if it ain't working for them, and then I would try to be bad. I wasn't that dude. If I'm on a team, I'm not gonna be the guy to go out there, you know, we gotta kill him. What do? Why we gotta shoot him? I'm not gonna be the killer. I'm probably not. I'm gonna ask some questions.
Right.
If some people don't, and you ain't gotta tell them what happened. You ain't gotta tell them what they just take off. Right. That's why what I'm saying is that you gotta have compassion. And when I see you, Darvin, even like stand up, like sometime, okay, that's growth. Being nice and forgiving and all that is really not something that we get points for, me and you. Mm-hmm. My wife told me, she was sitting there, she said, how you take it? I said, baby, I don't get no, that ain't me. God wired me that way. I don't get no points for that. It's when I begin to bring some order and standing on some things, that's when you say, he getting it. Mm-hmm. So that's when you know the balance is coming in there. And a lot of times you'll see me around people who are real strong because I know what I need in my life. I know what I need, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the piece that, and every temperament, there's a strength to it, but there's also a weakness to it. So you got to send your emotions to school. You got to send them to school. You got to have your emotions where they're educated. They don't try to override you. Mm-hmm. They don't try to override destiny, purpose. When you get emotional, value, they don't look at value. They don't look at the circumstances, right? You got to take them to school. So when you say that, you might well go ahead and say, hey man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna crack some jokes and punch you in the eye, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you, I'm serious, but I'm gonna put some humor in there. So when they say truth is in humor, mm-hmm. I'm gonna say it to you maybe, hey man, it's gonna be a joke or something, right. But believe that I'm being for real, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you see me get like a certain way, those are behaviors I had to learn. Yeah,
I see that in your trade a lot. Where you serious, mm-hmm. but you will still come at a joke perspective. Yeah. And I think that's awesome too. Yeah. But I love to submit. Submit, but don't surrender. That's deep.
No, I don't surrender. Surrender ain't like a war. You ain't want surrender is a military term. Mm-hmm. I surrender all. That sounds good. It's a song, but that's not in the Bible. We don't. God don't. It ain't war with God. I don't want you to surrender to me. Then I gotta. If you surrender, I mean I gotta. During the Iraqi war, in the first one, the Desert Storm, they was trying to surrender. But the our armies and Marines, them guys didn't want them to surrender because you had to log them, you had to take care of that person. Right. So they were trying to give up with the white flag. Right. They trying to give up. Right. They were like looking at them. They were sick. They was hungry because they cut the supply lines off. They had carpet bombed. They wouldn't get supply. They was hungry. They was starving. So they were trying to surrender to get something to eat. So you have to be careful when you take on somebody surrender to you. That's a prisoner. That's a prisoner.
That's a deep man.
I don't want Q to surrender to me. It's a man. Right. Submitting means that ain't submitting to everything. Right. That means, man, I'm gonna submit you in this area because I don't have everything for a person. Mm-hmm. But that area that I'm gonna get that. See, our problem, we want everything from one person. Oh, he ain't giving me this. I ain't supposed to give you everything.
that's
you can't eat.
Hit it on the head.
Yeah, you eat an apple. Apple don't give you every nutrition you need. Right. You eat the different vegetables. That's why you eat the horns later. You eat the different stuff. Yeah. So what happened is in our society, we feel let down. Your daddy did what he's supposed to do then. Mm-hmm. He brought you here. Yeah, you see, then what you got to do is, and when you go over there, don't ever say that again. Mm-hmm. I ain't the one. You are the one. Right. Because you ain't wise the rest of them. And that's the one that when people say, man, I'm going to get my glory on the other side. Listen, man, I'm getting mine now. Right. Mm-hmm. Darvin, the stuff you done did in your life, you ever wonder how you get out of stuff? And it's stuff that people get killed behind? Right. Because of your grace. Mm-hmm. Man, I know. Well, I did stuff to be in jail for. I did stuff now. In this day and time, they put you in jail, all this stuff. I did that, man. And people say, man, they call it luck. No, man, I'm so merciful. People will hold you to a standard they can't even hold up to. Right. You talking about me, smoking, drinking, or whatever, but you raping babies. Mm-hmm. You touching a little boy. Right. Come on now. What I'm saying is that there should be some mercy somewhere. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what confused the devil in Genesis. When Adam and Eve fell, he thought that was it. But there was a word of grace. He never seen grace and mercy Because when he told the lie in heaven, he was stripped of his title. He was stripped. Adam and Eve chose his word over God's word. He wanted them to die, right? Just like he did. But they had grace and mercy. And that's what we call to do. I think even the politician or whatever, if they gave each other a little grace and mercy, man, it'll be a whole different world. Ain't no grace. You mess up, I'm hammering you. We're gonna have trial. We're gonna take you to congressional. But then when they do it, they look the other way.
Right.
They don't want the same thing. I remember my son walked in. I remember, man, you get mad and folk do stuff, and God said, "What if I cut you off like that?" Mm-hmm. You know you ain't living on plum nickel. Of a plum nickel. You ain't living. But God still clothed you. He still gave you breath. But our daughters, our sons, our friends make a mistake. Ain't no way, dog, we're gonna be together as a friend as much time as we are, and I may say something. I may mess up. I may fall, but you ain't got no grace and mercy for me. Mm-hmm. That's it. So that's the part that when Q comes in, and when you start to see a different person talking, I'm gonna give her grace. I'm giving grace now. Why? Because I want it. I want it. What if they don't give it to you? You're gonna get it. I promise you that. It ain't my word, it's his word. Because his word, and I promise you that. I told you, I stood in there, some stuff that happened at work. I told the story about some stuff that happened at work. And got put out a little regular gun. When it fell apart, it rusted. And it was on there messing with him. And they were arguing. And the guy said, I told him, I said, I fire him. The housing, I said, I fire him. You say so. I said, but you're so great. I said, if you show mercy, I guarantee you come back. He said, well, I tell you what, just don't have him work with me. I want to work with him because I know he got a family and all that. I said, I promise you this. I told him this. I said, I promise you this. He may be listening to the podcast. He can testify. Q, I said, I promise you this. It's going to come back. It was less than 30 days. I was in my closet Sunday morning. I was getting ready for church. He came into the room crying like a baby. Well, he had just, his son, he knew it kind of like the boy may be his, but he knew like 10 years old. I think Malik was like 10 years old. And he had that bought some whatever to school, tar guns or whatever it was, and they have a zero policy. Zero tolerance. Mm-hmm. Meaning that you out. He said, I just got him right. He was doing well in school, man. He said, man, this done happened. He said, I said, hey, I don't even worry, man. He said, what? I said, you already showed mercy and grace. I said, watch and see what happened. The next morning, Monday morning, I went down there with him to the school, talked to the principal. We sitting there right there talking and everything. We got done talking and everything. He told me to go to class. He said, well, I ain't got my uniform on. He said, go to class.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Grace and mercy.
Yep.
I wish I could sometimes, but I'm glad I ain't. That's a part of that, but there's a yin and a yang to it. Right? And you do need to say, hey, no. And probably the most prominent person in the Bible that I could put a picture would be David. David would worship, but he'd cut the head off. He was a good friend, right? He was a lover. All those faces had to be played. You had to know when to play them, when to do them. But when Abigail came to him and said, give my husband a fool, give him mercy. Give him mercy. This is the part I want you to do. Think about this. Nobody knows or really cares what happened before. That's your daddy. Mm-hmm. you his son, what they gonna say about you when you standing up there talking about this and this and that? When you say, I didn't help him because he didn't do nothing for me. What would they say when you say, I ain't worried about that? That's my father and I honor authority. I'm gonna do this. So when you mess up and your son can now do what he want to do to you and be justified.
Mm-hmm.
So when he sees you do that, I know grandfather wasn't there. I ain't know, but my daddy still did that. Mm-hmm. I saw him do it. I saw how he was blessed. That's what we need to have.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's what's gonna stop it. That what stops the anger, because you'll go through life feeling it justified. Nothing justifies my action but me. So that's the part that I don't know all the circumstances. I didn't know all the circumstances. You don't know, hey, he in the military, he in the war, he in the he out there he in the Vietnam, he in war, he doing this, he doing that. It's peacetime and I ain't doing what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't as smart as you. He maybe got kicked a little more. I don't know.
No, I got it. Yeah. No, that makes sense, man. Yeah. I always think about that too. I always think about, when he was young, his life from the age 18 to, where he at now. What did he have to go through?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it ain't easy out here by far.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Pastor? Yes, sir. Yep. That was a good message.
So yeah, man, no, and it just really that's why we got to send our emotions to school, because I promise you, the prayer for this year was HD 2020. We want to see life, God, everything clear. And I think Q is seeing life. He ain't never saw this life before. He's seeing stuff that, man, I ain't know. Because you know why? Cause as his daughter get older, he got a granddaughter, he got another child coming in. Every time something get added to life, he dealing with different people, he has to come up with different methodology. The Methodist, he had to come up with different, stronger strategy. When it's just me and my family. But when I start to add and I start to do that, when you bring people, why we don't get together? Because we can't get along with you. You can't get along with yourself.
Right.
More or less, adding somebody to the problem.
Right.
Then you talking about a family reunion. Y'all know why we don't get together? Because I remember what happened the last time we got together.
Right.
Well, we need to get together more. Have we changed? Did we learn from the last time? People don't want to. I'm not going to come spend this money, right? Fly to Michigan, right? Mm-hmm. Get hotel room, right? Put in when half of the folks ain't put in on it, right? And then get talked about when I get to Michigan for the family union.
Right.
I'm not doing all that.
Right.
Right? And leave and get talked about.
That deep.
So you ask me why we ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Why? Come on here, let me beat you. Mm-hmm. No, I ain't coming over there.
Right.
Turn the other cheek. I ain't gonna be there for you to slap the first one.
Right.
But that I'm not saying me. I'm just telling you why people don't come together. Mm-hmm. Man, I come together, man. I want to come together and have peace, love, and all that. Mm-hmm. Right. That's why people. You ain't gotta tell nobody to come pick up a paycheck. Right. To come somewhere where they want to come. That's why the church can't be a beat up spot. We ain't gonna dress. It's some issues should be addressed at home. It's some issues should be addressed over there. Mm-hmm. Right? It's issues that I address with you before you even get there. This ain't the beat up spot. This is not WWF up in the church. Your mama should address some of that stuff. Your daddy should address some of that stuff. Your friends should address some of that stuff. So that's a part that when we are talking about life and all that, man, it's so simple. Right? But it ain't easy. When you step back and look, man, you know what? I listen. I mean, where I'm at today is because I learned to submit. Mm-hmm. I didn't believe. Listen, man, listen. I didn't believe I was going to own no McDonald's. I thought he was trying to trick me to keep working at McDonald's. But I trusted him. Submitting has to be, I trust. When you submit, I trust you. Even in the credit thing, Darvin, people don't do what you tell them to do because they don't trust you. Yep. Man, just do this for, oh man, they think they know more. Man, this process works. You got to trust me, dog. You done hit more threes than Steph Curry in the credit department. They still ain't gave you no contract. Mm-hmm. They still ain't gonna buy no ticket. So those are the things that I have to be, come to realization. I had to put my emotions in school. And he's sending you to school now. Why? And I'm gonna give him a lunch. You go home now, right? Because I want to get to a point that where you're an asset, more of an asset than a liability. Educate your feelings. Mm-hmm. You're too grown to be acting like that.
That's deep, ain't it, Q? Educate your feelings. Mm-hmm. That's a book, bro.
That's a book. Yeah. That's a class. That's what we need to have.
Yeah.
I wrote my doctoral thesis. I was on personality, man, and I've been doing it. This ain't just a conversation that I'm coming up with now. This is something, man, that I wrote. I literally had to go in because, man, I stepped on some landmine. Blew up some situation, right? I mean, I would have been farther down the road than I am now, but my emotions got in the way.
That's how this guy do. I know he a pastor, and he go blow up all kind of situations. Mm-hmm. And I'm quick. It don't take me long to recognize your character. Mm-hmm. I say, I can't let him to the landmine field no more.
Yeah.
He will blow me up.
Right.
So, I get it.
We call them send-offs.
Man, come on, man.
When you talk about that, I remember the story you told me about you was gonna close that deal.
Yeah.
That big deal. And your emotions got in the way. And you want to talk about that, Pastor, briefly? What happened?
Yeah, I was in the middle of signing. What we do is, and it was even doing the market was bad, but we was buying so many houses, man, that the bank couldn't keep up.
You hear him, Q?
And I'm not joking. They couldn't process the paper fast enough. We was buying 3 or 4 houses a month.
Right.
Accelerated. And I was sitting at the table, and the guy wasn't really messing with me. He was messing with my accountant. I had an accountant. One was melancholy. Pete was the senior guy, and the other guy was like, well, Robert. Even when I would call the company, I said, oh, don't put him on the phone. Don't put him on the phone, because he'd be like, he's my, and yeah, Robert, well, you don't want to make no money over here because you get better write-offs. And I'm like, hey, man, you can't say that to the guy here got that loan in that company, my real estate. You can't say that in front of him.
Right.
Because he ain't got no control over this McDonald's operation money.
Right.
So we talking, man, he's going back and forth. And the question that he was asking, they should have known. We should have known. Man, he's beating him up. And I said, hey, man, I tried to step in, and he went back down. And I said, look, man, maybe I need to take my depository somewhere else. He said, maybe you should. I stood up. We walked out. When I stood up, I felt it. When I stood up, 17 people got shot that day. I had 17 employees. I had contractors. I had guys that, when I stood up, my emotion, all of us got blew up. Write a letter to Darvin and tell him I ain't coming home. Right? Anthony get that letter. Betty get the letter. The church I ain't coming home. That's how many people is impacted on your emotions. That's how many people. That's what you got to think about.
Right.
When I make this move, I should have rolled through that, got through that. I went back to the office, man, and I was on Mill Road for 2 weeks. I sit in that conference room, going through them numbers and all. And what had happened is it was just how we booked some stuff. Like if I buy a house, rehab it, and sell it, it's pretty clean on the profit, because the profit it shows up, right? But if I rehab a house and I pull the loan out, I may have $100,000, $50, whatever it was, because I knew we was making money. But if I pull the money out, it don't show up on your statements because it's just a loan.
Right.
It don't show up as a gain. It don't show up as profit. So he was asking that quarter. He said, hey, and we did a major building on the south side. They wanted to do it was a writ on it. It was a raise order, to tear it down. We went in, took it from there, did the whole thing. So it took a long time. The project took a long time. A lot of money was invested. So he was like, hey, what's going on here? So I had to create another sheet that shows the equity in that what we did.
Right.
And that's what I sit down there and my accountant said, look here, I said, this is what happened. I said, this what they're missing. He said, how do you think of that? So that's what we started doing. And that relationship never was right again.
Right.
Never was.
With the bank.
Never was. Now I'm gonna tell you, this guy eventually had the bank moved him on or whatever. I don't know the whole story, but he's not there now because of how he was controlling. He was a D. He liked controlling the situation.
Right.
So even we did some smaller stuff, I would go in. I had sent my emotion to college, and I had a degree in emotion, and I would say, I never would tell him what I wanted to do. He'd say, I said, hey, what you think?
Right.
I said, hey, I got this building over here, and this is what I need to do. I would like to do. What do you think?
Yeah.
And he
Ask
said,
the
hey,
question.
Robert. He said, hey, Robert.
Control.
He said, hey, I think you do. And he would always, the deal was better.
Right.
Right. The term was longer, and he gave me more money.
Ain't that something?
Right. Now I can want to control, but I like having the money a little better at that time because I can go.
So can you say that you learned from that and it made you better from that situation, Pastor? Because to me it seemed like you made the transitions from taking that person or blowing the deal, so to speak, to now, talking to a person like you say, what you think?
What you think?
Did that help you ultimately from that situation?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not in that situation, but man, it helped me in life.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I have gotten stuff done seriously, approved that I ain't supposed to get approved.
Right. Well, what you think? By saying what you think.
What you think? Knowing how a person is wired, knowing who's in control. Just walk in. You have to have that. When you send them to school, see when you're in elementary, you can get there, and then you get to 10th grade, junior high, and then you get to high school, and then when you start talking about college, and then professor, I'm constantly learning.
Right.
Because even the professor has to learn to teach. Mm-hmm. The professor discovers stuff. Even if it ain't done, he goes out, the person in the field goes out and invent a tool to do this.
Right.
So that's what we're called to do. So that's where I'm at. I'm at the pinnacle now that, man, I done got blown up. You don't need to get blown up.
Right. Can I give myself a shameless plug, Pastor?
Go ahead.
I remember when we first got together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shameless plug, okay? Mm-hmm. And you had an accountant on your team. Uh-huh. And I came in and you gave me the opportunity to kind of talk about finances with you and discuss some things. Mm-hmm. And we looked at your credit report. A1 credit, never late. But we seen something there that I didn't like that you said your accountant said was good. You remember that, Pastor? That was that home equity line of credit. Yep. Right? And so what I did, I said, Pastor, did you know that a home equity line of credit on your credit report shows up as a credit card? Mm-hmm. And you said, man, I didn't know that, my accountant always said this was good. I said, Pastor, we need to redo this, and if we restructure this a certain way, it's going to open up more doors. Yeah. You remember that, Pastor?
I remember
and he said, man, I'm fine this account.
Yes, sir. Actually, my finance guy, and what they were doing, they were trying to have a credit line that you can tap into. So people don't know that. They don't know. But that's the part about listening. And honestly, on that note, man, when you talk about credit and all that, right, the part that really kills a person is not what you don't know. It's what you think you know and you don't know. Mm-hmm. You move a little fast when you think you know. You follow me, Keith? If I don't know, and I know I don't know, I may go find out. I'm going to walk a little cautiously in that dark room. But if I think it's all good, I let my guard down.
Right.
So in that credit thing, you were right, man. I went to the bank and I said, hey, look, y'all did it this way, but it's affecting my, when I pull a general pulls and to do stuff that is not major, or somebody who looks at it and see that it's a home equity loan, it looks like I got this much money into a home equity loan. Now, this wasn't a regular home equity loan. Really what had happened, I didn't owe anything on the house. And and he said, instead of getting a mortgage, let's do it this way. Mm-hmm. And if you do that and pull the money out, it looks like you got a high balance. Right. So you're right about that. Now, and I told the bank guy, And my bank guy blew it off, like, man, no, that ain't true. Ooh, I kept on showing him. So he knew I was for real. You know, he knew I was for real. When he got that payoff, another bank, I moved along.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because he just, so I did, you know, and so what I'm trying to say is that I submitted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I submitted to have that conversation.
Right.
Because in the beginning, it's all new to you. And we normally down on what we're not up on. Oh, man, I got it. Well, let me talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
At least let me say. What you got to lose? Here's what you got to gain. So those are things that we have to be careful when we're in these situations. Not letting our emotions. A fool always, a stubborn man, will always be a fool because he refuses to listen.
How do you get a person? I don't know if that's the right question, but because some people can use it to their advantage to submit. What makes a person submit? You know what I mean? What puts, like with Q, for instance, you know, why would he submit to somebody like me and helping him? Why would he submit to somebody like you in counsel? You follow what I mean, Pastor? Why? Like what? Or why hasn't he? Not to say he has or hasn't, but what does it take for somebody to be in a submitting position?
Well, one of the main things that really deters and goes against submit is trust. You know, sometimes you've been in a situation where I've been blessed, maybe that the environment I was around, militaries and people that I could trust a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But if I'm in a different environment, your trust factor has to be more guarded. So you have to understand that this guy don't trust. He's not as open as I am, right? So you have to understand that first, the history. Secondly, once the trust is there, trust comes with verifying. Just because I trust, but I'm going to verify. Ronald Reagan said that when the Gorbachev and them tear the wall down, he said, we're going to trust you, but I'm going to verify it. So I'm going to trust you, but I'm going to verify what you say is true.
Right.
What you mean? I'm going to look and see. Number one, what have you done this before? Right? What do people say about this? People, I check we're lazy. Mm-hmm. We don't do no references. We don't do references. And people know that. You ain't going to call for references.
Right.
Right? Man, he said, reference for me, you didn't call me, ask what kind of job you did? Oh, man, I don't. No, he had some pictures. He didn't do that work. Them pictures, that work that we did, he took pictures of. So you have to, if you take 2 or 3 days, just verify, right? And then when you ask folks something and they tell you, right, follow, because the next time you call me, I'm not going to tell you. Why? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Majority of the time, even if that don't happen, I tell them, some told you. You ever had that some told me? Mm-hmm. You ever in your spirit, man, blah, blah. And if it looked too good to be true, it's probably not true. Yeah. If it looks too good to be true, it's not true. So really, man, the trust part, that's really what we call it. Submitting is trusting. You can take another word out, trusting. Because men, most of them, I don't want to submit. No, trust. Trust me, Doc. You know, and you can have them overnight. Give me 2 days. Mm-hmm. You know, give me 3 days, man. Give me some time. Mm-hmm. You know, because sometimes I don't have the full view that you may have. So in credit, you'll say something, I may not believe it, but I trust you. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right? I may not believe it, but that's where faith comes in. Oh, man, faith is when you don't believe.
Right.
But I trust you, God. Mm-hmm. I can't see it. I really don't believe it, but I trust you. Right. I believe in you. Mm-hmm. I believe in you, God.
Right.
I can see how I'm going to come out of this. I don't really believe it, but I believe in you that this going to be okay. So those are the things that time, you forget time and chance. Time, it just take time, man. You know, I didn't get here overnight. Sometimes people look, they think you do. Success, overnight, ain't no overnight success.
Right.
Ain't too many of those.
Pastor, they don't know how many times. Remember you told me you had to practice saying no. You wake up saying no, 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 no. Like, you know what I'm saying, Pastor? People don't realize how you attacked on a daily basis and how you got to put guards up and how you have to say no. Mm-hmm. You know, even in some cases, you may not want to. A lot of other cases, you might want to. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about how that's been going for you in saying no, Pastor, how does that feel? What ideology is based on saying that no?
You know, I don't like saying no. And people know, they know I got a soft order. They'll come to me and they'll say, hey, I need da-da-da. And I say, I tell you what, talk to my wife. They never call her.
That's
They
right.
never call her.
Yeah.
And I know that.
And that's a good barrier, right?
Well, I don't want to have my wife at the, yeah, that's a good barrier, but I don't want her to be the bad
Gotcha.
person. She'd be the bad, she'd be the no, I'm not going to do it to her. I had to get better now. And there was a time in my life that I have a conversation with those around me. When I was in the ministry, I say, hey, Pastor Pat, it's heavy for me. Because I know how I'm wired. Can you take? She said, okay, Pastor Pat, because she's bad. She's wired. That's why we're a good team. With my wife, I can't make her the police. I can't have her the one to discipline the child. Now, automatically, my daughters, when they want some money or something, they will come to me. My son, they ain't gonna go to my wife. Why? Because she gonna give him $20 and ask for a receipt.
Right.
I'm gonna give $100.
Right.
Right. Because I want to make sure.
Right.
That's just how I'm wired. But there's a balance there. So, saying no, there's a book that we were working on, and it's called 50 Shades of No. Some people don't need that book. I need to know how to say no, because I don't want to say no. I want to help. I don't want nobody to die around me. I don't want nobody to be poor. I want to help. And people know if I can just get around you, Darvin, you're going to make sure I'm okay. If I can get in the house, you're going to make sure, and those are things you have to learn. And I came up with key words, and that's what we should do. And people around me knew I wanted to do it, but I knew I couldn't.
Y'all think one of them like, I ain't gonna be able to do that. Something you say, but
I ain't
doing that, man. I ain't gonna be able to do that, man.
I want to, but I ain't gonna be able to do that, man. I ain't gonna be able to do it right.
Yeah.
So then, and also before
I want to,
before the
but
no
I ain't
come,
gonna be able to do that.
Yeah, I ain't gonna be able to do that, man. We put screens. You put boundaries. So no, and I ain't gonna say boundaries. You put qualifiers. So we said I had about $40,000 out in $30-some thousand out in company loans back then. Company loans. So what I said was, in order for you to get a company loan, you're going to have to come to these classes we got for credit. When we have them credit class first, having you got to come to that. You got to come to Darvin class. You got to come to this thing. You got to sit down and go through these pieces. That, when you didn't come, that knocked a lot of them out right then.
Oh, that was a nice move.
That's just easy.
Yeah, because that way you educating them so they may not have to come for a loan again.
Yeah.
And they may be able to pay you back that loan.
No, Darvin. That's what a wise man say. I'm not creating so you can be on your own. I'm creating me. I'm reproducing me. Reproducing me means you'll become the lender and not the borrower.
That's right. Yep.
You understand that?
Yeah.
You should be able to lend $50, $100. You become the lender, and then who you lending to become the lender. And after a while, that's how the family works.
Right.
You're too grown to be 62
and
to my borrowing $20.
Right. That's right. That's a fact. Right?
And then what happened there, they began to put a buffer around me. Ain't nobody come to me for $20. Ain't nobody come to me for $100.
Right.
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 When I call certain people, they say, "Well, I'm gonna call and ask them, can they?" I said, "You gonna call them for what?" I said, "No, you can't. No, don't call them for that.
Right.
They can't be your $20 person and then be your $2,000 person.
Right.
I ain't gonna be both.
Right.
Because every time you need $20, I ain't doing all that. What area you want me to be in? So when you build buffs around, anybody come in for $20, they can get that from people that done built up. Then they eventually begin to build the person up. That person who used to borrow 20, that can loan 20. And that seems like a small amount, but $20 can be a lot when you ain't got nothing.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You need Pampers, you need toilet paper. I'm telling you. So I understand $1. So that's the part. I understand borrowing because I remember when I didn't have.
Yep.
I don't forget. Right? Say people to my, you need to stay humble. I ain't got to worry about being humble. Life will humble you back. Life humbles me every day. Every day.
Right.
So we ain't called to humble each other. The only person I want to be humble is God in my life. I ain't working with them over there. He can do what he want to do. So that's why when you say no, you have to put boundaries in there. You rehearse the situation and you let folks know the protocol before they even ask.
Right.
for these man. I can't have more than you got in it. How much you got on it? Right?
Right.
If I finance your dream, then it's my dream now. I just bought your dream.
Right. Oh, that's deep.
What happens if all goes bad? What happens if it all goes bad?
Right.
Who loses? You get tired and get mad one day and just say, hey, I can't, I don't know how to do that.
Right. Right.
Have you done this before? Do you like doing this? Or is it a good idea?
Right.
Yeah.
Them some great questions. Oh man, you got it all. You got it all mapped out already, huh?
That's the big six, man.
Right.
With someone we got to call. We're gonna do a wealth and health. That's what we're gonna deal with in the next our next masterclass workshop.
Okay.
Because Rob is not here today.
Yeah.
Rob here today. His wife found him on the floor. Had blood pressure. Now everybody around us. That's the bad part about it. This is what we're gonna make it a checklist, because everybody around them, they can tell you this. This ain't just a cliche. We asked them, what is your blood pressure?
Yeah, and we love you, Rob. You know we love you, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah. And his blood pressure 200, man. I'm like, 200? Well, you've been sitting here. See, that's why, and jokingly, we talk about that. You be sitting next to people. You do credit, and my credit score, my blood pressure is higher than my credit score.
Right.
Something ain't right there. So those are things that people around, we got to ask that question. Man, what is your credit score? What is, hey, man, your credit score, what? You been sitting here all this time?
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes, well, not sometimes, we got to ask that question. I never asked the number.
Right.
I knew you had a little bird problem. Normally, I would say, what is it?
Right.
Because I thought he jogs, he walked. I mean, he never stopped walking. Listen, man, I ain't never nobody walk like he do.
Right.
So I'm thinking, 200. I'm like, he wasn't doing what he's supposed to do. So we're going to talk about wealth and health. See, if you ain't got no health, wealth ain't no good.
Ain't no such thing, is it?
You fat on your back, it's good to have good insurance. But there's some insurance or doctors that can't repair things that we've damaged.
That's
So
right.
that's why we gotta be, and I told you, it shouldn't be on the doctor. The doctor, they don't call him every day. I'm gonna see him every day. And then when he don't do what he's supposed to do, his wife gonna call me.
Right.
Call me.
That's right.
Man, what you doing?
Yeah.
And that's what help one another.
So we got to check on each other in all ways. What you're saying, wealth and health. Check on it. What's that blood pressure looking like? Hey, them credit all right?
Yeah.
Did you go? Did you go to that bank? Did you take care of that?
Right.
That's how we take care of each other.
That's how we're gonna do it. So
Yeah.
the seminar, we're gonna have that. Those gonna be the emphasis: health and your wealth. So that's what we're gonna be doing in April. Don't miss it. Come out.
That's right.
And I promise you, man. I promise you, we're consistent. We're making sure that the ground that we covered is secure.
That's right.
And it doesn't look good for them to fight and then lose the ground again. Fight. We want to fight, secure it, and keep moving.
That's it.
All right?
All right.
100 Jim. Rob ain't here today. We want y'all to tune in, and he should be back in the next couple of days. So we sending love out to Rob. Man, this is your podcast. We ain't trying to take nothing.
We love you,
But I'm
Rob.
gonna tell you now, don't slip now. Don't slip, because Darvin flew in. He flew in for you, baby. All right, then. Love you. Peace.
All right. Peace.